In Cambodia, a genocide was carried out by the Khmer Rouge regime led by Pol Pot between 1975 and 1979, in which an estimated 1.5 to 3 million people died. The Chea had planned to create a form of agrarian socialism which was founded on the ideals of Stalinism and Maoism. The Chea policies of forced relocation of the population from urban centers, torture, mass executions, use of forced labor, and malnutrition led to the deaths of an estimated 25% of the total population. The genocide was ended following the Vietnamese invasion of Cambodia. Up to 20,000 mass graves, known as the killing fields, have been uncovered. One Chea leader said, "It was for the purification of the populace that the killings began." On January 2, 2001, the Cambodian government passed legislation to try a limited number of the Chea leadership. Trials began on February 17, 2009. On August 7, 2014, Nuon, Chea and Khieu Samphan were convicted and received life sentences for crimes against humanity during the genocide. Ideology played an important role in the genocide. The desire of the Chea to bring the nation back to a mythic past, stop aid entering the nation from abroad, which in their eyes was a corrupting influence, and restore the country to an agrarian society, and the manner in which they tried to implement this was one factor in the genocide. Ben Khieu compares three genocides in history: the Armenian genocide, the Holocaust and the Cambodian genocide, which although unique shared certain common features. Racism is one and was a major part of the ideology of all three regimes. Although all three perpetrators were largely secular, they targeted religious minorities. All three also tried to use force of arms to expand into a contiguous heartland. All three regimes also idealized their ethnic peasantry as the true national class, the ethnic soil from which the new state grew. The Khmer Rouge regime targeted various ethnic groups during the genocide, forcibly relocating minority groups, and banned the use of minority languages. Religion was also banned, and the repression of adherents of Islam, Christianity, and Buddhism was extensive. And according to Khieu, the fiercest extermination campaign was directed at the ethnic Chea Muslim minority. This attempt at the purification of Cambodian society along racial, social and political lines led to the military and political leaders of the former regime, as well as leaders of industry, journalists, students, doctors, lawyers, as well as the Vietnamese and Chinese ethnic groups being purged. The exact numbers of Cham people killed are unknown. However, according to survivors, there were an estimated 700,000 before the Chea came to power, and there were an estimated 200,000 left following the genocide. International reaction. In 1977, the book Cambodiana Copyright Isar Copyright Rule, written by Frona Section Wa Ponchhod, was released, although the English translation was not published until 1978. Ponchhod was one of the first authors to bring the genocide to the world's attention. Ponchhod has said of the genocide that it was above all the translation into action, the particular vision of a man, sick. A person who has been spoiled by a corrupt regime cannot be reformed. He must be physically eliminated from the brotherhood of the pure. In 1977, Murder of a Gentle Land, The Untold Story of a Communist Genocide in Cambodia, written by John Barron and Anthony Paul, was published. The book drew on accounts from refugees, and after an abridged version was published in Reader's Digest, it was widely read. In 1973, Kenneth M. Quinn, serving with the U.S. Embassy, had raised concerns over the atrocities being carried out. In a report, he stated that the Chea had much in common with those of totalitarian regimes in Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. Quinn has written of the Chea that, hat emerges as the explanation for the terror and violence that swept Cambodia during the 1970s is that a small group of alienated intellectuals, enraged by their perception of a totally corrupt society and imbued with a Maoist plan to create a pure socialist order in the shortest possible time, recruited extremely young, poor, and envious cadres, instructed them in harsh and brutal methods learned from Stalinist mentors, and used them to destroy physically the cultural underpinnings of the Khmer civilization and to impose a new society through purges, executions, and violence. The support of North Vietnam, in conjunction with China, was essential to the triumph of the Khmer in the Cambodian Civil War. During the genocide, China was the main international patron of the Khmer, supplying more than 15,000 military advisors and most of their external aid. As a result of Chinese and Western opposition to the Vietnamese invasion, the Khmer retained Cambodia's UN seat until 1982. China hosted Khmer military training camps from 1979 until at least 1986, and stationed military advisors with Khmer troops until as late as 1990. After the 1991 Paris Peace Agreement, Thailand continued to allow Khmer guerrillas to trade and move across the Thai border, although criticism from the US and Australia caused it to disavow passing any direct military support. Ben Khieu claimed that the US offered material support to the Khmer Rouge after the Vietnamese invasion. Other sources have disputed these claims. The Cambodian NGO Documentation Center of Cambodia has, by 2008, mapped 20,000 mass graves. The Cambodian Genocide Program at Yale University, directed by Ben Khieu, estimates that the death toll may be closer to 2 million than 1 million after their discovery of mass graves. War Crimes Trials. On July 15, 1979, following the overthrow of the Khmer, the new government passed Decree Law No. 1. This allowed for the trial of Pol Pot and Ieng Sary for the crime of genocide. They were given an American defense lawyer, Hope Stevens. They were tried in absentia and convicted of genocide. In January 2001, the Cambodian National Assembly passed legislation to form a tribunal to try members of the Khmer regime. So far, the Extraordinary Chambers in the Courts of Cambodia has tried Kang Kek Yeo, also known as Comrade Dutch, also known as Hang Ping, was a mid-level leader of the Khmer regime. He set up the first Khmer prison in Kampong Forest, where the prisoners had to live in pits. He set up another prison 2 years later, known as M99. It is estimated that up to 20,000 people were tortured and executed there. Following the Khmer Rouge victory in April 1975, the prison system was extended nationwide, and in Phnom Penh the infamous Teol Sling prison was founded. Dutch was in charge of the prison together with his lieutenants Mam Nai and Tang Sin Hien, who led the torture and interrogation of prisoners. It is estimated that 16,000 people were killed within the Teol Sling compound, with only 7 known survivors. In 1999, Dutch was interviewed by Nick Dunlop and Nate Thayer, in which he admitted his guilt over the crimes carried out in Teol Sling. He expressed sorrow for his actions and stated he was willing to stand trial and give evidence against his former comrades. On February 16, 2009, the trial began, and he accepted that he was responsible for the crimes carried out at Teol Sling. On March 31, 2009. On July 26, 2010, he was found guilty on charges of crimes against humanity, torture and murder, and was given a sentence of 35 years imprisonment. On February 3, 2012, his previous sentence was replaced with life imprisonment. On September 19, 2007, Nuon Chea, also known as Brother Number 2, was arrested, and later arraigned before the ECCC. At the end of the trial in 2013, he denied all charges, stating that he had not given orders to mistreat or kill people to deprive them of food or commit any genocide. He has expressed remorse and accepted moral responsibility for the crimes, stating, "I would like to sincerely apologize to the public, the victims, the families, and all Cambodian people." Ieng Sary was arrested on November 12, 2007, at the same time as her husband, Ieng Sary. She was indicted on September 10, 2010. For crimes against humanity and genocide. On November 17, 2011, following evaluations from medical experts, she was found to be unfit to stand trial due to a mental condition. Khieu Samphan was arrested on November 19, 2007, and charged with crimes against humanity. In 2014, Samphan and Khieu were given life sentences for crimes against humanity. The tribunal has been criticized for being slow, as only 3 people have been tried and convicted. Denial. A few months before committing suicide on April 15, 1998, Pol Pot was interviewed by Nate Thayer. During the interview, he stated that he had a clear conscience and denied being responsible for the genocide. Pol Pot asserted that he came to carry out the struggle, not to kill people. According to Alex Alvarez, Pol Pot portrayed himself as a misunderstood and unfairly vilified figure. In 2013, the Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen passed legislation which makes illegal the denial of the Cambodian genocide and other war crimes committed by the Khmer Rouge. The legislation was passed after comments by a member of the opposition, Kem Sokha, who is the deputy president of the Cambodian National Rescue Party. Sokha had stated that exhibits at Tuol Sleng were fabricated and that the artifacts had been faked by the Vietnamese following their invasion in 1979. Sokha's party have claimed that the comments have been taken out of context. In literature and media, Rithi Pan, who is considered by many to be the cinematic voice of Cambodia, is himself a survivor of the Khmer Rouge's killing fields. Arguably his best-known and most affecting documentary is S21, the Khmer Rouge killing machine S21, La Machine de Mort Khmer Rouge, in which he recuperates memory to represent speechless horror and thereby shatter silence. With its unsettling reenactments, S21 allows us to observe how memory and time may collapse to render the past as present and by doing so reveal the ordinary face of evil. Lung Noon's First They Killed My Father, published 2000. See also, Mass Killings Under Communist Regimes. References. Bibliography.